Hi there, welcome to Continental Drift Knits. I'm Lisa. I'm CDK Podcast on Ravelry. I'm Continental Drift Knits on Instagram and Continental Drift Knits on Facebook. So thanks for coming back if you've been before, and if this is your first time, thank you very much. If you like what you see, then please hit like or subscribe. That helps other people to see it if you think it's of value. I'm back in Melbourne, Australia. I think I was in New Zealand last time. I've got a dog here. No, you go inside. Inside. Go and sit down. Thank you. Go and sit down. It's my son's Aussie Shepherd. So basically we're back in Melbourne and in Australia, and we're here now for nearly 3 months. We do summer here and Christmas with our family, and we're really excited about that. So I think last time I spoke we were in New Zealand where we're living, and we had to come back here. We had an ill family member who's doing really well now. Daryl's dad had a stroke, and it was absolutely fantastic in terms of the quick treatment that he got, which meant he has a few problems, but not anything where he could have been. So we're very, very grateful for that, and he's doing really well. So we were here in Melbourne for 10 days, and then we went back for another 12, 14 days and to New Zealand, and now we're back for summer. So, and that was the whole idea of moving back from the UK. We've still got to do work in New Zealand and a few other things, and so but we're 3.5 hour flight away, so much easier than 24 hours, so, and a lot cheaper. But anyway, on to the knitting podcast apparently. Well, knitting, crafting, crocheting, all the rest of it. I've got some notes today because I was feeling a bit nervous about today. It's really weird. I don't know really why I feel nervous. I'm just talking to a screen and I'm not particularly stressed about it, but anyway, that's fine. Oh, it's episode 6 according to my notes. So I always have a Google Keep. Probably can't see that. It says Poddy 6, and so that's, I forgot the Christmas stocking. Okay, so I am working on a test knit that I can't show you, and it's very exciting. I've wanted to do this test knit. I think I've mentioned it a couple of other times. I've wanted to do this test knit for a long time, and we're not allowed to show it, so that's all very good. But I was doing, it's a striped test knit, and one of the yarns I was using was Travel Knitters Camel Silk Tanami lace, and I was using it. This is the second project the skein was being used for, and I knew I was pretty close in terms of how much I would have, but I lost yarn chicken. So I've had to adapt the pattern because it's not easily available to me, and it's also not cheap, and I probably only need 10 grams of it in addition to what I've got now, and I just thought, no, I'm not doing that. I'm just going to, initially I frantically messaged people, and people didn't have it in stock, and then it took a while to figure out where there was some. But in the end, I just decided it's about 60 Australian dollars, and for 10 grams of 100 gram skein, where I didn't really have anything for the rest, for the other 90, and I've already got 2 garments now with this product. So I thought, no, I'm going to be adaptive, and so I hope that's okay for the designer. I think it looks okay, but you'll have to see it when it's done. But I was weighing, I love this, I was weighing my yarn and I had to make it evenly balanced in terms of how I ran out on the sleeves and on the body. So I have been madly weighing yarn every few rounds to make sure I had enough left for the same on the other side for the sleeve. I knitted halfway down the body to try and make sure I still had enough for sleeves, and then I faded it out over the rest of the body and sleeves. So that's what I ended up with. I'm rather proud of that. That's probably less than 2 grams. Yeah, the other yarn is linen, so that's a silk camel lace, and I'm using linen, Kalinka linen in I think it's a fingering weight or a spore weight. I'm not sure what Kalinka is, so I'll give you all the deets when I'm finished. But suffice to say, the last 4 weeks I've cast that on and I'm almost finished it. So what you see today is probably not a lot in terms of knitting, but yeah, it's been a lot. I've been doing a lot. What am I wearing? I'm wearing the Kerr sweater. How good is it? Woohoo! Okay, this is by the Crayer Bear, who is Rebecca Clow, and I hope that's how you say your surname, Rebecca. I've just finished. Well, actually, I finished this a couple of weeks ago, and I have been wearing it hugely, like enormously. It's supposed to be summer here in Australia, like it's just not. It's just grey and miserable, and so I've worn this the last 3 days. There's 2 options for the colour work. There's the narrow band, which is this one, and then there's a larger, deeper colour band which goes from the same position, but it goes further down. It's probably 3 of these motifs, where this is 1.5, so it's exactly double the depth. It's a drop shoulder. I think I talked about it last, but it's worthy of mention again. It's released on Friday the 24th, which is today in Australia, the day I'm recording this, but it'll be released in the UK in the next 24 hours, and I'll try and get this podcast out. I'm going to try low touch editing because I think the editing is what takes me the time to get it out, and often it's a week from when I record to when I release it. So I'm going to try and get this episode out in the next 24 hours, so to coincide with the Kerr sweater. So I'll try and... Oops, I got my shorts on. So really happy with it at the back. I hope that was successful. It's been knitted in Holst Super Soft held double with Drops Kid Silk Mohair, and that's the dark, and the light was a Baby Haven Merino orange 4-ply from New Zealand, and SAR orange Kid Silk Mohair for the colour work. The colour work was a lot brighter when I originally did it. However, yes, it darkened off when I washed it. A huge amount of dye came out of the Holst, which I've never used Holst before, and I don't know whether that's normal, but it did dull the colour work, but I'm actually not that distressed. It's fuzzy anyway because of the mohair. So yeah, I've talked all about the Kerr sweater, but I just want to give it its day. It's great. And I've gone with neck up. Most of you have said I should go with neck up, so that's what I did. So I'm going to come a little bit closer. Now we've shown that off. And I've got a cup of tea. It's bog standard Yorkshire in mugs that we probably got 15 years ago. Okay, where's my list? So what else have I been doing? Okay, I'm going to pause because I've forgotten one item, which is a finished object. And so hold your horses. I'll be back in just an instant. We're back. So one of the finished objects I've done over the last few weeks is a Christmas stocking that I do for my grandchildren. I've got two, but I have done them for a couple of friends' children as well. And I put their names on. I'm not going to show you his full name because his mum would prefer if we didn't. And basically I have to chart out their names. Then because you knit top down, you have to turn the chart over and work from the other way so that when you tip the name back, it comes out correctly. So this is the I'll put all the details. I can't remember who wrote the pattern. This is a highly modified pattern. Oh, falling snow stockings. No, it's gone. So this pattern, it has been highly modified by me to be big. So essentially, I make it a lot bigger, and I've written comprehensive notes this time on my Ravelry page in order to be able to make it repeatable. I'm hoping for more grandchildren. So it's colour work right the way down. I made it in, this one actually turned out really big. It's really, really big. This one turned out big, and I think it was on 5mm needles. I like the Latvian braid. Do you like the Latvian braid? And but it turned out really big. I don't know why. It's in Barocco Ultra Alpaca, I think, this one. And I think the other one's just an decay or worsted weight white of something. Some wool. I just tend to make them in 100% natural fibre. And I've still got to block this one. So that's actually pretty good for being unblocked. It's not bad at all. So yeah, I had a lot of fun making that, and I made good notes. So if you want to see the Ravelry page, then that falling snow stockings, I think it is. I've forgotten the name of the person. It'll be in the notes down below, and also on my Ravelry page. So do a heavily modified rounded toe and just try and make it big enough so that they can hang them for Christmas. So that was lots of fun. Okay, where's my notes? Okay, I did lots of I've done some dishcloths. I got a bit stressed with all the medical stuff going on, and I decided to do some dishcloths. Where did I put those? Oh, I've gifted the dishcloths, but this was the yarn I got. It's a commercial yarn, 100% cotton, in our like a Joann's or a Michael's type thing. It's in our Spotlight stores. That one's called Sea Mist, and I think that one's called Tutti Frutti. And I just did a dishcloth in crochet, single crochet in US terms, double crochet in UK terms, and I think I chained 40 and went until my double crochet could. So you take one corner to the next corner, and when they meet, that's a square, and I stop. So I'll put a little bit of footage in here of what I ended up making. And I also, the 3-year-old grandson wanted a green dishcloth or face cloth. So I had to go and buy a green cotton. I didn't have any green cotton. So he got a dark green cotton yarn. So I often do that. I'll just grab some cotton and make some dishcloths. I've got lots and lots of little ones about that big that I use here. So when they come visit, and when we go through, multiple of them per day, so 1 or 2 per meal to clean faces and hands and that sort of thing. And they just throw in the wash, throw in the dryer, and I really sort of like having them. They're on my Ravelry as well. And so you can just see, I don't use a pattern or anything like that. So that was some I've finished. The other thing I finished. I don't think there's anything else I've finished, but there are other things I've been working on. It's a bit all over the place. It's not really structured, but yeah, that's okay. I'll just go according to what's here. Rebecca from the Crowbayer also, who designed this sweater, and actually I really am actually getting a bit hot now, so I'll take it off. That's not pretty. You want to see my floats? Oops. I think I caught them in just 1 or 2 spots. And I'm a bit horrible when I sew in ends. It's not really my forte. So they probably need clipping. Okay, so Rebecca also did a cowl for her dip stitch pattern. So she released the Cargill sweater, and then a few weeks after that released the Cargill cowl. And the Cargill cowl's a great option if you don't want to, or you're not sure about the pattern, you're not sure whether you could commit to a whole jumper, but you could commit to a cowl, and it's a good trial run for whether you like the stitch pattern. It's beautiful, soft, quite feminine looking cowl, very drapey, but looks very, very warm. And Rebecca's offering that till the end of November, I think, as a fundraiser for the Fistula Foundation. And one of the things I did, I bought my own copy, haven't started it yet or knitted it. That sort of thing is probably on the back burner for a little while for me. But I did gift 3 or 4, and I did that through Ravelry. And I sent a couple of thank yous to people who had been great contributors over the year, and I really appreciated their work and their friendship and their conversation. And then I gifted a couple of friends an early Christmas present of the cowl pattern. So I'd encourage you, if you're interested in that, I'll pop a picture here and let you know the links to go and get the cowl pattern, and cowl. If you're Scottish, it's cowl. But Australians, as Nitty Mel says, it's cowl. So we're very broad in our accents. That sounds rather guttural sometimes. So that's a great fundraiser. I think she had originally hoped to raise about £600. An operation that will change a woman's life is about £600, and I think at last count she was on about £3,000. So that's changing people's lives, and that's pretty drastic. So if you can support that, that'd be lovely. So that's the Cargill cowl. I've also been doing 2 other projects. Yeah, 2 other projects. I still have my socks going. I don't get far. I do 10 rounds every couple of weeks. So they just sit in my bag for my emergency knitting. But I've been working on 2 other projects. One is a long-term project. And if you've seen, there is a little short on my YouTube channel of the Bears rainbow blanket I was working on in Queenstown. Actually, no, there's 3 projects I've been working on. And this is a project where I'm using Moya natural DK cotton, and I'm making a blanket. So I bought a pack of 72 rainbow minis from Unwind Craft Cafe, and with each of that I've done a centre and then surrounded it by the natural. I'm getting there actually. I really did a big focus on getting the white borders done. I don't know how many I've got done, but basically there's so many colours. I don't know how I'm going to go putting them all back together again. I might have to try and get a picture of the box. So they have a shimmer product as well, but this is just the natural product. Those sort of things. And then, so it's getting there. And I have, what have I got? So they're all my ones still to do. Oops. They're the ones I've still got to surround. They're the ones I've done. Getting there. And then I've got about 12 of the minis left, or 10 of the minis left. I didn't bring them down that I still got to use. And then what I've done is I've packed all the leftovers in sort of colour groupings like that. And I'm making, so orange apricots. And then I'm making little log cabin squares with them. Sorry about the crunching. So I start off like that, and I'm just grabbing lots of the leftovers, and we'll make a little baby blanket or a little knee rug or something. I haven't even thought of what I'm going to do with that. So I did think today, I was thinking how obsessed we are. Knitters are funny people, or crafters with yarn are funny, because we're very quick to buy things. You know, the shiny things, follow the shiny things and grab and buy. But we hate waste. We hate wasting. Who can throw out scraps of yarn? I can't. I have all the little rolled up balls, and so hence we see all the scrappy projects. One of the things I'm trying to think about is whether my hands could cope with doing a scrappy basket. But aren't we funny? Like, I keep everything, and I've got to use up everything. It's precious, yes, but I think it's even more than that. It's just strange. And yet I'll go and buy really easily. I recognise my privilege in being able to do that. I'm incredibly privileged to be able to do that. But actually, I have consciously stopped myself buying things over the last couple of months because I recognise I have a lot, and it's not a hoarding thing. Well, hoarding in principle is just in case you use it, you know, you might need it one day. So I suppose from that perspective it's hoarding. But it's not from the perspective that I don't think I'll be able to get it again, because I know I will. I mean, Holst have got a 20% sale on this Friday, Black Friday. And the overwhelming urge to buy is quite strong. I've got a whole lot of Holst up there. I don't need any Holst. I've got no project for it. I'm not going to buy any, but I think it's good to remind yourself that sales will come around again. You know, there's Black Friday next year, and there's Christmas sales, and there's New Year's sales, and there's other sales, and autumn sales, and spring sales, and yeah. So, but we are funny about our scraps. Tell me what you do with your scraps, because I'd be really interested in what you do with your scraps. I think that'd be fun to find out what people do with their scraps? Or do you just keep them in a basket and not use them? So tell me what you do with your scraps. So Bear's Rainbow Blanket, it's one of those projects that just sits. I just do it every now and again. I've got a little project bag that not all this is in, and what I do is I have half a dozen of the minis in there and one cake of the border color, the border natural. So this is a 3.5 mil. I think it's a DK. It's a 3.5 mil crochet hook, and it's 5 rounds or 6 rounds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rounds. I've modified it slightly from the pattern. My mods are in my Ravelry page, and you can go and have a look there. I'm not sure how I'm going to join them yet, or how I'm going to border them. Probably border with the natural, but yeah, we'll see what happens. Oh, the other thing I do is I tend to keep all my yarn tags. So the thing I do is so I cut off a bit of the yarn tag, and I know that's oregano or oregano, depending on where you come from. It's the Moya. I know what it is, and I know what colour it was. So if I did need more colours, I can grab those. Okay, so that's the Bear's Rainbow Blanket. I'll put that up later. I hope you're coping with the sun. I've got my eyes a bit scrunched up. I've got a piece of paper in front of my face today, so I don't tend to look at me. I tend to look at where the camera is. I hope I'm looking at the camera anyway. So the other thing I've been doing is I pulled out these. I'm not a big project bag person. I basically buy travel bag, or I've got some travel bags, and I use those. So these are the travel pack bags you can buy in sets, and I find them brilliant. I've got 2 lots, and I use them for travel, but I also use them for projects. So this is the, I've just pulled this out again. I left it, I left it in New Zealand while I came here for the 2 weeks, but it's the Manchalope unspun Miles shirt jacket. So that's it. I'm actually wondering whether I've done the sleeves long enough, because when I put it on, the sleeves sat up here, and I thought, uh-oh. But I actually think they'll block out a little bit. There's lots of detritus in this, so you have to be a little bit not worried about it, because if you pull too much, it's going to pull the actual, you have to be careful not to pull the actual unspun. So the only thing, I've added a few inches to this. I've got 4 centimetres to go on the body, and then I have to knit. You separate the fronts to the backs, the 2 fronts and the back, and you create a scoop. So you go backwards and forwards and use short rows and create a scoop hemline. So that's my next job. My only concern is, and you can't really see it here, so I might try and take a video of it, is under the arms, it's, oh yeah, you can see that. See, under the arms, it's quite thin, and I'm a bit concerned that that's going to rub, and wear. So I'm not sure if anyone, there is a cowl going on. It's an informal cowl. I don't think there's any prizes. the Unspun Heroes Cal. If you follow that hashtag, you'll see everybody that's knitting with the Mantelope and with any of the unspun. So there's Plötulope, Mantelope, Woolen Twine have one, Nutiden. I haven't got any Nutiden, but this is very economical, very, very economical. It's so lightweight. I think I'm only on my third plate, and I think in the UK they're about £8.50 or £9 a plate. So, and each plate is for the Mantelope is double, round double. So yeah, but this one, I don't know what's happened to this one. It's got about 4 ends. But anyway, yeah. So if you've got any thoughts about that thinning, it looks like on the outside it looks fine, but actually when I hold it up to the light, it looks quite thin. Anyway, if you've got any thoughts, let me know. But this one's going to get some love as soon as I'm finished my. So there's 2 projects that need my love and finishing, and that is the Miles shirt jacket and the Cumulus tee that I've been knitting in the Knitting for Olive. I've done nothing on that, so I'm not going to show you. But I'd like to finish both of those. And I reckon I could in about 2 weeks. I've got the collar on this one. I've got the collar, any front bands, and the scoops, and it knits up really, really quickly. And on the Cumulus tee, I really don't have a lot to do. I've got probably that much on the bottom, and I think I've got to finish the sleeves and the collar. So, and that's it. And so hopefully I'll have two finished objects apart from my test knit. So my test knit is a sweater or a jumper, and I have done 1 rib. I need to do the 2nd rib on the arm, and I need to do just the ribbing now on the body, and I need to do the neck. So it's almost all ribbing now. That's all that's left. So that's the unspun. The only other project I succumbed to was the Sophie scarf. Now, deep ancient stash. So I'm trying to be more intentional about my stash. So I'm trying to ask the question first, is there anything in my stash? Because I bought all my stash because I like the yarn. And essentially, if that's changed, I should get rid of it. If I don't like it, if I don't think it's going to be worthwhile me using, I should just get rid of it. Now, when I say get rid of it, don't throw it in the bin. Can I use it in a scrappy project? If it's too good for a scrappy project, can I sell it? If I don't sell it, can I give it away to a charity group? I used to have a lady in an aged care home that used to take, I'd given basket loads to, and they used to charity knit hats and gloves and get sent overseas, and so that was really good. I think always look around your local aged care homes, and you can find online places you can donate yarn. I know in London, Knit for Peace takes donations. I've donated there. Yeah, I mean, it has to be good. Not good quality, but it has to be smoke-free and in good condition, no moths, no bugs, anything like that. But essentially, if it's your stash and you've cared for it properly, then most of that can be donated. And it's funny, just on the scrap thing, I was watching Hohi and her mum, Virginia, and they were talking about they'd had some yarn which had one cuts with moths and had to look at ways to using it up. And I really like that about Makers. I like the fact we want to use the whole product, which is really good. The last project, yes, the Sophie scarf. So what I did, this is in, and I don't know whether any of you, certainly Australians old Australian knitters might remember, Joe Sharp DK tweed. Look at this beauty. Check the tweed. So it has pops of mustard or yellow and blue and light blue and purple blue and red. What else can I see? I can just see so many colours. Out here I can see a lot more colours than I can. It just looks like a rich chocolate when you're in the shade. So I found 180 grams and I thought, oh, I don't know whether I can do that. It calls for Aran weight or worsted weight and 5mm needles. This is officially a DK, but I swear it knits up thicker. And I'm basically, I found 180 grams and I thought, okay, I'll start with 180 grams. I think I've got more of this around. I hope it's here and not in my UK stash, which is still in a container, still hasn't arrived. So I started and I thought I'll just go to, so I knew the familiar thing of going to halfway, so going till I used up 90 grams and then so you increase every 6 rows and then you decrease, but I'm not going to tell you any more than that. I probably said too much already. I can edit this out. Yeah, so then I found another ball and then I found another ball. So I've got 280 grams now and I will do some maths. You Americans say math, Australians say maths. And I think I've got that left. I might have one more. I'll do one more. Got that left. So I'll just go until I've used exactly half and then start to decrease. And that way I won't have any scraps. Yay, go me. So I'll have to make sure I don't run out completely because I do want to finish it off and not have them two different heights at either end of the scarf. But it will be a lovely long scarf now, and which will wrap multiple times around my neck in the winter. So that's really potato chippy knitting. I had my test knit. I had to steam block and measure the Miles shirt jacket. I needed to measure. I could have been doing the Bears rainbow blanket. I finished the Christmas stocking. There was another project. Oh yeah, I hadn't measured and put needles on the Cumulus tee. So I thought, oh, I'll just cast on something else. So I've got so many things I've cast on. Anyway, I try not to worry too much. Although I do like finishing things because I really like wearing them, because I'm more of a, I always would have said I was a product knitter. I like the end product and I knit to get the end product. But actually I'm quite a process knitter as well. I've always got to have knit in my hands. I've always got to be knitting when the TV's on or in the car, or I find it very hard not to be crafting, knitting or crocheting. So finally, I just wanted to talk about, actually I won't say finally because I might not have remembered everything. Let's have a look. Okay, we've talked about, oh yeah, I haven't talked about that. Okay. Yep. So there's a couple of things. One is sure how I put this. My stash is about to feel like it's exploded. Because I was managing to live for 7 years in 2 different countries, or being here part of the time and being in the UK most of the time, I developed a good stash in the UK, and I have a good stash here. And unfortunately, they're going to combine and overwhelm me. And I know that's going to happen. So there's 2 issues. One is, so that hence the already me becoming more intentional about my stash and starting to go to stash first to shop and see whether I can adapt a pattern rather than go and buy some more yarn to finish the project. So there's 2 things. One is, how do I reduce my anxiety? And I think part of that is about storing it properly, organising it, maybe doing it on Ravelry. How do you keep notes about your stash if you've got a fairly substantial stash, or do you not? And keep in mind, this stash has developed over 20 years. I'm not a recent knitter. I've been knitting for about 47 years. And so, I used to knit on the bus on my way home from school in senior schools, in high school. So I've just been weird like that. I will have to show you, I've still got a couple of garments from that time, and one day I'll do a little trip back podcast. So the first thing with stash is how to not feel overwhelmed and how do you organise it. The second thing with stash is I really want to display my stash. So we don't have a huge moth problem here. Potentially, maybe, but I would imagine I'll be across it most of the time. And if we're not here, I would probably pack it away into tubs and bring it out again for when we're here for a longer period. But I'm thinking about a yarn wall, and I'm thinking about a big pegboard, but not the big naff pegs that you see, just like lots and lots of holes, so that you can hang skeins, hang swatches, put balls on, maybe put multiple balls on a like flat kid silk onto, sorry, I've got a bee. Flat balls of kid silk onto one hook. I don't know. It would be up quite high because I've got grandsons, and that's the other thing that my darling 3-year-old bear. He played with my stash the other day when he slept in the room that it's in. So bless him. He didn't do any damage, but yeah, his mother was mortified. It was very cute. He was making slides and hiding balls and all sorts of things. A few tags got lost or came off, but that's okay. So how do you just display your stash? I think Hohi hit the nail on the head the other day in that she had all her stash bagged, and I've just done exactly the same thing. I've just literally tipped probably 5 bags of yarn out onto a bed in order to do some colour decision making, and it's not sustainable. I can't just pull all that out every time I want to look at colour. I've got to pack it all away again, and then I've got to decide then how to get it out again, and yeah, it's not working for me at the moment. And I know I'm getting about in the next month I will receive we'll receive all our UK belongings, and my stash will go kaboom, and it will feel very overwhelming. So I'm starting to pre-think that. So please leave a comment below about how you might deal with that. The other thing I just wanted to talk about a little bit was we often see when we watch these podcasts a huge number of really expensive yarns, and they're not always within reach. you know, being in Australia, sometimes the shipping is really expensive. The time to get things is really long. We can go to a local yarn store here. I've got one 25 minutes away, but you know, hand painted is, you know, hand dyed skeins are 30 to 40 Australian dollars, and if you need 5 for a jumper, that's $200. And I just think that that's not within a lot of many people's reach, and especially with the way energy prices and mortgages and that sort of thing are going. I'd like to explore some things that are a little bit more local and also accessible from a cost perspective. And there's a podcast called The Frugal Knitter, and I really enjoyed her first episode. I haven't got to her second episode yet. I really enjoyed her first episode on terms of charity shops and looking at where you can get good buys and buying for what you need at the time. So one of the things I did explore when I went and got the cotton yarn, it was all on special. I think that cotton yarn was about $7, and the Tutti Frutti and the Seamus, and I think I'll get 2 out of each one, so $3 per nice big face cloth, and you'll have seen a picture of those. But while I was there, Abbey Yarns in Spotlight had the name of the yarn is The Wind Cries Merino, so it's just a bit too much really, and I can't find, oh here it is. Oops. Can you believe it? Okay, so it is, let's have a look, it's 65% merino, 25 baby alpaca and 10% microfiber polyamide. So essentially largely natural fiber. It's 120 meters per ball, and it says a needle or hook size of 4.5 millimeters. I just swatched with it. I decided I wanted an alternative to maybe Drops Air or the Woolfolk Luft or the Woolfolk Taj. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing those correctly. So this swatch is held double. This one was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a 6 millimeter needle, that side, and that side was a 5 millimeter needle. That's quite dense. I'll put in Ravelry. So that just as an aside, in Ravelry, when I gauge swatch, I actually create a project. And I think I mentioned this in episode 1. So I create a project called Swatch or Gauge Swatch. Always in the tags, I tag them gauge and swatch. And so you can search by swatch, and you can see, now this is how I knit. It won't be necessarily how you knit, but it's how I knit. And basically it's a bit like a digital reference library of swatches. So I take pictures of the swatches, I put what needle I used, how I treated it, if I washed it, if I blocked it, if I held it double, I'll say in the swatch gauge what I did, and I'll put the gauge so that when I come back to using this yarn again, I will not only potentially have the physical swatch, but if I don't, I've got a digital swatch there, which tells me what my knitting did at that point in time. So this was held double. It's very drapey. I think it would be a good sub for Woolfolk Luft, but I'll pop up here what the gauges I got were. So, and then this one I held single. Oh, gorgeous. So this was on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 millimeter needle. It is like air. It is just so soft. I mean, it would make the most beautiful ranunculus. Now, I got this for $5 a ball. So it was $5 Australian, which is about £2.80, probably about in New Zealand. Oh, that was New Zealand dollars too. So it was $5.30 New Zealand, which is about $5 here. And it was so it's about £2.50 equivalent US dollars. I don't know what it would be in US dollars. I think it would be about $3 US for a 25 gram ball, 150 meters. So I will just have a look at what options, and I'll put on my Ravelry page for this swatch what sort of yarns you could substitute for, given my gauge. And my God, this is so soft. I could do a ranunculus, I could do a love note, I could do potentially anything with drops air. That it's not as full as drops air, but you could potentially substitute if you had the right gauge. So I don't want you to be discouraged. Go into your local Joann's, Michael's, whatever it is you've got local to you, Hobbycraft in the UK, or you can get from Wool Warehouse, you can get some good brands. I know Drops is in the UK. Drops has got a 30% discount on it at the moment, sale, and play and see what you could substitute, because rather than me paying $10 a ball, if I'm paying half the price, I'm much more willing to give it a go and not be as stressed if it's not perfect. But also I might get something that's just as beautiful for half the price. So, and anyway, that's just a thought. So swatches will be on Ravelry. Consider consider your sources, and if your budget's quite tight, even if your budget's not tight, I'd be absolutely happy to use this, even on a budget that can cope with the more expensive. I don't buy a lot of the more expensive hand painted yarns, hand dyed yarns, but yeah, I have a jumper of I have a jumper's worth, a sweater's worth of hand dyed fade, and I've held it for 2 years because it's almost too precious. Andrea Mowry talks about things being too precious to use, and I think I'm at that stage with that. I really need to just get on and use it, because it will be even better once it's knit up. So you might see that appear in the next few months. Yeah. So that's the swatching idea. I'll put all the notes below or beside. If I've gone too fast, you can play back YouTube at a slower speed if you're struggling to understand people. Yeah, a few things like that. But drop me a message. So if you've swatched any really good cheap yarns, I like a natural fibre. Having said that, I do have some acrylics, but I tend to crochet blankets with the acrylics. But I'm almost at the point where I just prefer a natural fibre now to an acrylic, or a polyamide, or a nylon, or a rayon, or whatever. I don't know enough about them to know. And I really do like woolly wool. It's just my thing. So let me check my list. Talked about the switches. Oh, there's no Christmas top yet. I've talked about doing the festive sweater. I see Finished Knitting Stories is doing that. I will get to it. In fact, I think it might be my next cast on. Although I've probably said something else is going to be my next cast on. Yeah, but I'm thinking about doing a strange brew, because I think I can the problem with the festive sweater is I want to knit it in fairly light fingering yarn, and I think the festive sweater's in a DK to a worsted, and I'm not real good at changing things up like that. Whereas Strange Brew knits, they have a whole thing on how to use fingering for a stranded colourwork sweater. So I'm thinking I might use the Strange Brew pattern, but I've bought the festive sweater pattern, and I'll use some of the motifs from that on the yoke. So yeah, but that's going to take some headspace, so I need an hour or two to sit down, do the numbers and figure out how that works. So I'll do that. Talk about stash. Oh, I really want to do a half and half wrap. I don't have any linen quill. I'm not buying any linen quill unless I go to New York, which I don't have planned, or unless I'm gifted some, or I come about it some other way. I'm going to try and use stash. So it's fingering weight. So I'm actually thinking about the Holst Oxford. I've got 290 grams of that left. I've got lots of De Rerum Natura Ulisse. It's a fingering weight, so I should have a look and see what I've got. So, but I would really love to do a half and half wrap. And I know I'm just jumping on the bandwagon, but hey, I like the look of them. I love the thought of wrapping up in that in winter. My knitting might slow down if we ever get some hot weather. It's certainly quite cool here and will be for the next 10 days. So my knitting's pretty safe for that period of time. But if we start to get really hot, I go back to crocheting little squares so I don't get too hot. So, my Joji cowl, total fail. Never got it cast on. That's okay. I ended up doing 3 test knits, and I hadn't planned that at the beginning of those of that cowl. So sorry about that. But yes, not going to happen. So I've put them into hibernation on Ravelry. So I think that's actually. There was one more thing I wanted to mention. I don't know how we're going for time. I have no clue. I've got a big blue splodge, and I've got a rubber band, and I've got a broken stand. So it's a fairly jerry-built rig here. So I can't go and have a look, but just got one more thing, and that was past projects. And I might do, maybe I'll do a separate, I might do a separate little video on editing past projects. So spoiler alert, I'm doing I might do one on my stash and one on editing past projects. I have 3 projects at the moment where the fit's not right. So every time I put the garment on, I love the garment, but the fit's not right. So I have a Plotalopi, I think it's Plotalopi, it might be Letlopi vest that I knitted. It's colour work. It's a vest. It's great in winter. I wear a long sleeve tee because I get a bit hot, but I like warmth on my body. It's too long. It's that much too long. And so it's just bunches up around my hips, and I just feel icky. So I'm going to shorten that. I've decided I don't wear it because it's too long. So I'm going to shorten it. I'm going to measure how long that takes me to fix it. So we'll see if my notes are good enough on Ravelry to be able to find the right needle size, and etc. etc. The second item I need to edit is the Carbeth cardigan. So I did a Kate Davies Carbeth cardigan, and that's on my Ravelry feed, and the button bands are too tight. So every time I put it on, beautiful. It's woolly. I did it in Croft, a Croft tweed, West Yorkshire Spinners Croft tweed with a mohair, and it's so warm and so beautiful. And the button band annoys me every time. It's bunched, so the front bunches a little bit, and so I put it on and then I take it off because I think, no, I don't want to wear this. So the third item I have talked about here before, and that was a vest. I did a cotton vest with a split hem, and it had the notched hem tank. And I don't like the notches. My hips stick out of them and it makes me look twice as wide, and I'm not going to wear it like that. So I'm going to fill in the notches. So that, as a project, has been sitting in a project bag. But I think I should focus on that, because it'd be really good to get those 3 items into circulation, and with me happy with them. So with me looking at them going, yeah, I like what I've done there. I'm going to have to see with the, I think with the vest I'll be fine, because I might be able to rip back enough to just re-knit the rib. With the Carbeth cardigan, that's going to be interesting, because I'm not sure if I've got extra yarn. I'll have to go and find what I used and see if I've got some. We'll see. And I have more cotton for the notched hem tank. So yeah, so let's do that. Let's do that together. If you've got a project you'd like to have a go at, let me know, and I'd love your feedback as to how you're going to modify it as well. So I don't have a lot of other things to talk about. I don't even have a lot of acquisitions. As I said, I've been trying to work from stash. The only acquisitions I've got were the ones in my the cottons, and that Abbey Road one I started to play with. So yeah, I hope you've all been well. I'm not Christmas knitting. I've decided that it takes too long, and I need to start, if I wanted to Christmas knit, I'd need to start very early in the year. But I am considering, the recipient doesn't know this yet, but I am considering doing what Amy Palco did and offering to collaborate on a knit. And that will be my Christmas gift to this person, who I got in a, what's the round robin? Kris Kringle. So I might offer to make them a jumper, but we'll see. I think we'll just see how that goes. Yeah, so not Christmas knitting, not even Christmas ornaments, apart from what I've done there, and my festive yoke sweater. But if it doesn't get done, I'm not stressing. Life is just too busy and too hectic, and with work and travel and family needing care and grandchildren needing some extra attention and their exhausted parents needing some attention. Life's full. It's very busy, and I just want to knit on all the things. And I get very stressed about knitted gifts, because I'm not really sure that somebody wants them, and unless they've expressed they want them and sort of design them with me. I certainly don't like mystery gift knitting, because that's a bit scary. Yeah, and my husband actually needs a jumper off me. I feel a bit guilty. I've knitted everybody except him jumpers. I knitted him jumpers when I was, so I used to knit a lot. Then when I had children, I stopped, and I stopped for about 15 years, 15 years maybe. I did a lot of baby knitting, but then didn't knit till they were in their teens. And anyway, the last 16 years I've not stopped, but I probably am conscious of burning out and not putting pressure on myself to knit the things that I think people expect me to knit. But yeah. So everything's good here. We're hoping to get our container load of household items, and then we'll sort them out here and figure out what we need to take to New Zealand with us. We're in Australia now from now until February the 5th, and then we head back to New Zealand. So yeah, we've got lots of projects around the place. We bought this house 18 months ago, and our son lives in it full time as his house. But there's lots to do. We've done nothing in it. It needs the garden fixed. It needs a gate rebuilt. It needs. It's got no storage. It's a huge house and it's got no storage whatsoever. So I am redesigning some parts of it, but that won't be done for well over a year. So it's a matter of finding out what I can do. What can we do in the meantime that's going to make it more livable, but not waste money and do things twice. Oh, we are getting solar on. So we've decided to invest because of the price of energy at the moment. We've decided to invest in solar and solar technology, and we've actually decided to put a battery on. So I know we had a good look as to whether battery technology was there yet, and it could be better, but the system we've decided to put on is one that will allow us to expand the solar panels, the number of solar panels, and also expand the number of batteries that we can put on it. So we don't have a EV electric car, which I would really like, but it just cost-wise in Australia, they're just horrendous. I think having an expandable system will mean that you're limited what you can send back to the grid at the moment, and so we're taking that into account. There's no point producing more energy than what we can either use or send back to the grid or store. So we're starting with one size and then seeing how that goes, and we'll expand the system if we think we could be more efficient, or save some money or build up more credits or that sort of thing with the company. So yeah, that's about it at the minute. If you've got any questions, if you've got any questions to ask me about the UK, about New Zealand, about Australia, if you've got any questions to ask me about my making, knitting, crocheting, if you've got this far, then please do press the like button. I assume if you've lasted this long, you have quite enjoyed the content. So hit the like button, press subscribe, hit the bell for notifications if you want, and I'll try and be back in less than 4 weeks. We'll see how we go. All right, have a lovely few weeks. I hope it's not too cold in the northern hemisphere where you are. Hope it's not too cold in the southern hemisphere where you are, and I hope we get some nice warm weather soon. And hopefully in the next couple of weeks I'll be able to show you my test knit, although I'm not sure when the designer's going to be putting it out there. And also, if you like the Kerr sweater, please go and buy it. Even if you go into the Kerr sweater on Ravelry and put it in your favourites, or just the fact that you've gone to the site, gone to the pattern page, if you put it in your favourites, if you put it in your queue, even if you don't buy it, that will help it to be seen using the algorithm that they use on Ravelry too. All right, have a great day. Bye. Hi there. Welcome to episode, I don't know whether it's 5 or 6. I've got a doggo just here. He just wants to say hello. You want to say hello? Oops. This is my son's Aussie Shepherd. Anyway, I hope he doesn't bang oh yeah, let's start again. Hi there, welcome to